Greetings from the blustery north. Hope you all are doing good. We are back, Heavy Metallurgy Album Club. And it's Wednesday. It's been a long, blustery week so far. But I'm sure we're going to get the report from our southerners first here. How are things in New Orleans?
Nolans.
New Orleans, you mean? It's freezing. It was 42 degrees this morning. Everyone's freaking out. Yeah, everyone's like, it's second winter over here. Everyone's bundling up, but
your parka's out.
Mittens for sure. Mittens on mittens. Sorry, guys. We're out of touch when it comes to winter weather down
Mittens
here.
on Mittens. Wasn't that a violent song? Oh, wait. That was Bodies on Bodies. Never mind. I got confused.
Tomato.
If violence went a different direction with their sound, I guess.
Right.
We're doing absolutely fine compared to y'all. So happy to be here. Got a spare Guinness from the St. Patrick's Day stick yesterday. Yep. Cracking it open. Life's good. As far as spinning goes, every time you guys do a deep dive discussion into a band, it's impressive. It's probably one of my favorite things you all do. I know it's a lot of work, Marty, but still.
This one wasn't a lot of work. I was very familiar with almost everything, so it was good.
Their discography is just a bit more digestible. Celtic Frost we're talking about. And I had a blast listening. Yes. You guys tastefully maneuvered around the bomb fields of the Celtic Frost discography. I think this is becoming my favorite release that Celtic Frost proper has put out. I'm still very partial to the Triptychon stuff because that was my first exposure to, Tom G. Warrior and his crew. But
really interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Milana Kosmata, their second album was the first time I was introduced to any of that stuff. So definitely interesting going back, but I love this. I consider this a full length. You guys talked about it as it was a full length, and to me, it's just hit after hit. This is one of the extended versions, which of course has Morbid Tales and Dethroned Emperor and stuff on it. So love every single track on here except Dance Macabre. Don't know what to do with that one. You guys kind of defended it a little bit, but whenever the moaning, the vinegar strokes come on, I don't know what to do with that. Other than that, Sludge is the name of the game. As far as mean, evil, like noisy sludge goes, Indian from Chicago, Illinois, do it like no other. This is their last album because they are now defunct. From 2014, I want to say. From All Purity. This is just pissed off musical carpet bombing. It's hard to decipher some songs at times, but it gets the job done as being just a loud attack on your senses in a slow, meandering way. So spend some time with this band and their discography over the past couple days. And then a black metal band that I've been getting more into recently and had to track down a copy of their sophomore effort, 1349. I've had Hellfire for a bit, but this is my first time really listening to and getting beyond the apocalypse. So I've just enjoyed the relentless attack and the way that they take black metal and just focus on speed, technical riffage. It makes me think of the death metal of the early 2000s or late 90s that I kind of love. Just that, except put on into a black metal backbone. So this has been in the car player a lot this week, but other than that, all good.
Right on. Good to see you. Jim, hello. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. It's been a cool week. My son's girlfriend is in town from Canada. She's been staying with us the last couple of days, so that's been cool. So yeah, man. Artillery beer tomorrow. This is a reissue from about 10 years ago, but great shape. Sounds good. This is a band that I missed in my first go around as a thrasher, but I really, really like this debut. I think I'm going to pick up the second one too, but this is a super strong. The Netherlands, I think, is where these guys are from, right? Is it the Netherlands or Denmark? It's somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good stuff. Killer riffs, good vocals, just solid start to finish.
Yeah.
Great stuff. And with Nevermore's announcement of a new singer, who I approve of this guy. He's really good, and I watched the video of them jamming together and stuff. I'm kind of excited about what's happening. And we wanted to go back and listen to some old Sanctuary. Got Into the Mirror Black here, and also listen to this one here. So this one's not as good as the Godless Endeavor. This was our last one before they broke up. A lot of people don't really like this one, and compared to this Godless Endeavor, doesn't hold a candle to it. But I think there's a couple good songs on it. Probably Termination Proclamation is pretty good. Emptiness Unobstructed is a good song. But yeah, this Godless Endeavor. I can't remember if I either lost it or I had a party once and a bunch of my CDs were stolen. I think it was stolen that night. But
Shit, you've had trouble, man. Your CDs stolen at parties. You had a whole thing of CDs
whole
taken out
bunch
of your car.
out of my
What the
car.
hell?
Yeah.
How do you have anything left?
I've had a lot of bad luck over the years with
Damn.
CDs. That one. I think it was the last show of my band, the last night we ever played. A bunch of people came over to my house after, and a bunch of people came in that I didn't know. But I had been drinking pretty heavily after the show, so I didn't really care. I probably should have, because I woke up the next morning like all my booze was gone. My CD case had been opened up, and there were missing CDs pulled out of it and everything. And so yeah, don't recommend it.
No.
Don't drink and invite people over. So besides those, obviously, right with you there, Logan. Listening to this record, absolutely had to listen to Megatherion, because this album owes a lot to this one. The one we're covering tonight owes a lot to this one, and just Frost in general. But me loving the Frost, not a bad thing for me. So, but I was actually going to listen to this today, and I was like trying to pick out like which riff off Dream Death was inspired by like which riff off this. But spoiler alert, I think that their Frost worship is done pretty well. So, but we'll get into that. So,
All right, TJ.
Yeah. So, did you take that picture? Can you pull that back up? So this is what I had to go through to get into this fucking skunk-infested mess out here. So I hope you all appreciate what we and Marty and I have had to endure the last 3 days.
Why don't you shovel it instead of just,
I didn't have to, because I was too busy trying to escape my house. So it's like I didn't have time to get out here. I figured my things were safe. The roof hadn't caved in. So, but just anybody who was curious how we got bombed. But yeah, so this week is inspired. It's taken me down some rabbit holes, to be sure. Finding out that these guys were actually signed to New Renaissance, so I had to pull this out. And of course, I listened to this a couple times. It's in perpetual rotation for me. I worship this.
great stuff.
Blood Feast, Killed for Pleasure. And then just being that I feel like his vocal delivery is inspired by a certain gentleman from a band. I wanted to pull out the second greatest EP I think that's ever been released, next to Mad Butcher, Haunting the Chapel. Chemical Warfare, I think, is one of the best songs Slayer ever wrote, in my opinion, really. But
agreed there.
And then continuing with the theme of this, what we're listening to today, and then being mentioned by our brother Logan there, I went down this road instead of the Celtic Frost road because I wanted to hear. I absolutely, this stuff to me. I mean, Monotheist is such an amazing Celtic Frost record. I mean, that record. And this just feels like this continues the full realization of what Celtic Frost is, or could have been, or should have been, or was. I don't know, however you want to, whatever kind of way you want to put it. But I mean, Monotheist. Like, I remember first time Marty, I don't remember how I think I heard it. I went and listened to it over at your place, I think, because And you're just like, it's a work of art. And I'm just like, I kind of agree with you about this record. It's just like, holy shit.
They finally got it. Yeah.
Right. And this here just kind of, it just carries that forward. I'm still kind of torn between whether if I prefer this one or the other one a little more. I don't know. I like them so much, both. But that being said, and then I just, Spirit Adrift, I'd almost forgotten how much I love this band. Ghost of the Gallows is their last one. They had released a new song on Spotify, which I'm really surprised if anybody's heard it. It's like, I was like, is this pallbearers? It's like straight up, like 8-string low tune. I was really kind of blown away. And then with the that's this clean voice on it. It was like, but this is just, these guys just absolutely rule. And then I finally, all the way from Greece, I finally got this. I had to show this off because, I mean, look at this handsome, well-nourished young lady here.
Where do you put the needle for the picture disc?
Just wherever
Wherever you
wants
want
to go. Yeah. But this fine young lady, she's obviously, the dragon should make more fire. She seems cold. And she's definitely, she's pointing there. She's upset about something. She's sending her little servant maiden off to, I don't know, do something. But this thing is pretty sick. So yeah. Anyway, there it is.
Yeah, coming off of a week, I listened to a lot of Celtic Frost. Found out the news that Phil Campbell died from Motorhead. So rest in peace, Phil. Wizzo. It's sad. 64 years old. It's too young. Granted, a lot of hard living over the years, but I'm on the Motorhead tip now. So 1916. This is probably my favorite post. Well, no, Another Perfect Day is one of my favorite Motorhead records, but this record of the Wurzel, Phil and Filthy combo. This is an awesome record. So Bad, Baby, I Don't Care. No Voices in the Sky. What a great song. Holy shit. Going to Brazil. Love Me Forever. A ballad, the heaviest ballad ever. What a great song. Ramones, fun song. Better than the Ramones. And 1916, sad. World War I song. Went into Sacrifice. This is probably one of their thrashier records. Obviously, the lead-off track, Sacrifice, is just a banger. Absolute banger. Mickey D is an absolute force to be reckoned with in Motorhead. And, of course, Orgasmatron hit the waves, too. But, yeah, it's I found myself spending a lot of time on YouTube watching old Motorhead interviews, and there'll never be another like them. And got a little VCLT today in the mail from Dave over at Metal Overkill YouTube channel. Thank you again, Dave. He sent Holy Terrors, El Revenjo, which is kind of like I have this on CD. I have only listened to it once, so I'm looking forward to throw this on again. Don't remember. It's 2 LP set, exactly what's on here, but very cool. Going to be spinning that. And he is helping me fulfill my Kiss catalog here. He sent me Monster on LP, which I greatly appreciate. This is their final studio album. Not a good one, but it doesn't matter. That's not the goal here. The goal is to get all of it. I only have one more to go, and I'll be have all of the studio on vinyl as well. So, Dave, thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. Very kind of you. And that leads us to today. We're going to be talking about the 1997 New Renaissance Records release of Pittsburg, Pennsylvania's own Dream Death with Journey into Mystery. And for those of you unfamiliar with the band, let me pull this up. The band's formed in 85, some say 84, as a trio. After recording their demo, the band decided to add second guitarist in former Doomwatch bassist, Doomwatch as in being this band right here, Terry Weston, and set out to write and record their second demo called More Graveyard Delving. They released their debut album, Journey into Mystery, in 87. Shortly afterwards, Ted Williams left to join crossover metal band Eviction, and the remaining 3 members changed the name to Penance. They're reformed as Dream Death in 2011, while Penance is also still very much an ongoing concern. So, there you go. First impressions, Logan.
All right. Yeah. One of those albums that I've been aware of for a couple years. Probably given it 1 or 2 listens over that amount of time, and I've mainly just been aware of it just because of its unique billing. When you hear thrash doom, it kind of catches your ear and makes you scratch your head like, what on earth does that sound like? That sounds impossible. Two opposite forces pulling each other apart. That can't work. And I will say, in the past, listening to this, it's never hooked me or maybe want to revisit it further, outside of the cursory spin. And the first time listening to this was definitely similar, Obviously, you timed it perfectly, Jim, with their Celtic Frost dive, as you said. Like, I was 100% listening to tracks like Dethroned Emperor and Visions of Mortality and stuff, and being like, that goes here, this goes there. The approach to the riff writing and like the drum, the songwriting, and then the drum and guitar dynamic feels very much like a Morbid Tales to Megatherion Celtic Frost. I think what ended up always catching me and maybe like throwing me off is the vocal approach, which is a bit more of what you would expect from a thrash metal vocalist from the 80s. And I've always the pill that I had to swallow in my first spin. And as I said, this was no different. Like, he's very much a bit domineering over the performance, and on certain songs, it's a bit tougher to swallow than others. Other tracks, it feels like we're going a bit more towards the thrash sound, and it makes more sense. But it's an interesting listen. It's a unique take on the sound for 1987. Like, and this is back in the day when they were just cramming, different primitive metal influences together. Not like today where there's a sound for everything. Back then, it just, probably was them wanting to worship Celtic Frost, and then the thrash scene that was going around, like Slayer, as TJ mentioned, and I don't know, maybe some other doom like Trouble could have crept in there too. I don't know. We'll see. But interesting first listen. I was curious how this would stack up for a whole week, though.
TJ.
Yeah, so I'm going to save my more elaborate answers for a little bit farther in on this. My first impression of this was Celtic Frost Hellhammer with Tom Araya vocals. I'll get into it a little farther when we go. I need a little more room to expound on my bullshit opinion, but that's where my first impression was this.
Yeah, I got this around when it came out. Camelot Music acquisition was on New Renaissance, and since Blood Feast was on New Renaissance, well, I had to get everything that came out on New Renaissance. And it was cool to revisit the album this week because I have not listened to it since I was a teenager. And I was reminded rather quickly why, because I just cannot connect to this record. I never could, and I tried, and I tried, and I tried. Yep, Celtic Frost all over the place. I really dislike the guy's shout-talking singing style. And yeah, we'll get into the elaborates of it. It's not all bad. I really do like the guitar tone a lot. But yeah, it's Celtic Frost, but messier for me. Jim.
Well, you guys aren't wrong about the Tom Araya over Celtic Frost thing. That's what I think too, right? When I first heard this, probably 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago or something, like I was on headphones, and I think Kellen had recommended me check it out, and all I heard was the vocals, super high in the mix. I didn't even really pay attention much to the guitar song. Like I said, I wasn't really listening to it much, but I just kind of just like, okay, cool. I'll revisit this later. But when I finally did and checked it out again, I was like, hey man, I like this, because obviously I picked up there's tons of Frost worship here. Celtic Frost is one of my favorite bands, always has been. And and the era of Tom Ray vocals, to me, you're close, TJ, on Connie Chapel. For me, it's Hella Waits. I hear that Hella Waits style of Tom Ray's tone on here. But regardless, early Slayer. Now, some of the lyrics are kind of like, back from the dead, watch out, I'm gonna kill you. The song's about vampires. I mean, not the greatest. Though I think the lyrics on Elder Race are pretty cool. So it kind of a hit or miss there, in terms of like, but when I think about this as like a mid '80s album, that was kind of a lot of that was going on, right? So it doesn't really bother me so much. But for me, like I don't feel like it's messy Frost worship. I feel like the riffs are well constructed. I feel the drums are solid on it. The bass is audible. It's cool. Like and the more I listen to it, like the more I liked it. And even it's still relatively fresh to me, which is one of the reasons I covered it. I just now got it on vinyl recently. But kind of for me, like the more I listen to it, the more I like it. But I do think that, if you're not into Frost worship or latter era Dark Throne, this may be, a tough pill for you, like, to swallow, like as Logan said. I'll use your metaphor there. But for me, like, yeah, it was, the vocals were kind of like, made me dismiss it at first, but, going back to it, paying more attention to it, and really seeing the just the heaviness and the coolness, and what I like is this is a very, very early Frost worship album. We got to think Morbid Tales is 84, To Make It 30 Rounds 85, this is 87. This came out the same year as Into the Pandemonium, and I think it's like more Frost than Into the Pandemonium was. You know what I mean? And had I heard it back then, I probably would have been like, this would have been my go-to as I weeped in my Cheerios for like the lack of like metal songs on Into the Pandemonium. Even though there are some great ones on that album, Inner Sanctum being one, Babylon Fell, and so on. But there was also a lot of weirdness on there that we all know about. But the riffs that they picked were more on the doomy side of Celtic Frost, thus the thrash doom tag and Metal Archives and whatnot. And I think that's what kind of differentiates them from me. Instead of going like the super fast route or more up tempo, there is some up tempo stuff on here, but for the most part, it is more of that, like the slower side of Frost, and kind of exploring that and, mixing that sort of like more dismal feel is what gives this band, their own character for me, other than like a lot of like bands that embrace the Hellhammer and the Frost, tonality. They tend to be, let's take it, let's make it really fast or whatever. These guys are definitely more dismal, and they make me want to dream death, baby.
Right on. You have a question for us?
I always forget about a damn question, so I'll just make one up on the spot. So one theme that we all share here, right? And it was, even for me, off-putting at first, is the tonality, well, I guess I wouldn't say the tonality. I would say the vocal approach, and its presence in the mix being like way too loud, right? It dwarfs out everything, really. The guitars, the drums, the bass. Like when I listen to this, like I kind of have to shift gears in my mind to focus on the music, right? But are there any other albums you can think of off the top of your head that the vocals were super distracting, but you really loved the music, or that the vocals, even if you liked them, were so loud that they kind of obscure the music itself and make you not want to return to the record so much?
I'll jump in real quick and just say a band that I always think that the vocals are too loud in, but it doesn't bother me much, is Vader. The band Vader. Peter is always way out in the front of the mix, but his voice is really good, and the music he is empowering doesn't diminish because of it, which I don't know if Dream Death got that memo, but I'll have to think a little bit more on it. Logan, do you want to go?
Yeah, of course, initially King Diamond came to mind, but that one ended up being a bit, I don't know, more fitting just because of how high King Diamond is. So putting that one out there, that definitely did take time to get into. Abigail was the first one I listened for King. Obituary actually is going to be my pick that makes me think of this. Specifically, Slowly We Rot. I'm all on board with Cause of Death and always was, but Slowly We Rot actually took me some time to get into just because of where the vocals sat and how John Tardy presents his vocals in that album. And it's still not a favorite of mine from that classic, 80s era of death metal, because I feel like it takes away a lot from what the music is doing, especially you don't know what he's singing, you don't know what is really going on, and it makes a lot of the songs and music blur together a bit more than if it was a bit further back in the mix, which I think will end up being issues that I do have with this album we're about to talk about. To me, they course correct significantly with Cause of Death. I absolutely love that album. It's the perfect blending of that vocal style where he's still definitely John Tardy and is doing basically the same thing he was doing on Slowly We Rot, but at the same time the songwriting is just, it feels a bit more structured and memorable, and just the album flies by very differently than the Slowly We Rot album.
TJ.
Yeah, I mean, as a listener, I can't ever, I come on here and I critique these records with you guys, and I kind of I put a little more thought into what I'm coming at these things, so I can kind of have some sort of an opinion about it. And so I'll break it down and be like, oh, the vocals are this or there, and maybe they're too high, whatever. Or when we're working on our own material, I have my opinions about those things and how I feel about it personally. But as a fan, when I'm like, I saw somebody in the comments like mention the first Forbidden record and things like that, and it's like, God, I've never really thought about those things all that much just as a fan. If I'm listening to something that I like, I just don't, the album, I just kind of absorb it as it is. It just, I take it in, it becomes what it is, and I never really give it those kind of critiques. Like everybody complains about, like, is it Breeding the Spawn? I think is the one everybody bitches about all the time. Suffocation. And I don't know. I get, when I stop and think, well, maybe they got something there, as far as production goes, whatever. We're not talking about vocals, but, in so much as, like, it's just one of those things. If I'm feeling the record and I'm into the band, it's never stopped me from going back and revisiting things. It's like, oh, the fucking vocals on that record were just such a pain in the ass to get through. I never come across, and that's not to be, criticize somebody else for feeling that way about it, because I get it. Everybody has a different ear, and they approach these things. And as a fan, you listen to something like, God, I love this band so much with that record. And I mean, I have had issues like with Rush's last record, Clockwork Angels. The first time I listened to that record, the production on that record, I couldn't listen to it. I got through about 3 songs, like, this is just awful. It sounds like shit. And I didn't listen to it for the longest time. I just couldn't. There was something so jarring about it. And I don't really ever remember having that kind of visceral response to something. And even though I'm not as big of a later Rush fan as an early Rush fan, but still, I wanted it. And it took me a long time. I finally got through it, and it's like, oh, this record's actually really good. But there was just something about it. So I guess in one way I can relate to the idea, what you're putting across. But ultimately, it's generally, it's just like, if like Logan says, King Diamond. I mean, but that's, he's supposed to be on top of everything. I mean, it's just, and that's, for me, it's just, I turn it on, it's cool. It's like, this is what it is, So, I mean, I guess in some ways I can relate to what Jim's getting at, driving at on one level, but from a different angle, you know, if that made any sense.
All right. Before I let Jim have his say here, I thought of a couple more. One band that always came to mind with vocals, maybe not the best part of the band, but they put it real far forward, was Gothic Slam. Everybody remember Gothic Slam? Hey, you over there, why don't you cut your hair? Who died and made you God? I mean, I always hated that crap. It's it's the same, the kind of the shout, talky type of vocals. Another one that pops into mind is Sean Killian from Violence. They got a very much a polarizing vocalist, and they put him right up front of your face on Eternal Nightmare.
Yeah.
And there's no getting around it. And you have to kind of make peace with what you think of the singer before you even peel back the layers to get to the music underneath, which is absolutely ripping ass thrash. It's great. But you're so distracted by what's going on with the singer. So it's something, in a case like Sean Killian, for a prime example, that I would think that would fit the mold of what you're going for here, Jim, in my mind anyway. What were your thoughts?
TJ, you're telling me there's not a single album you can think of where you think the vocals are too loud?
No, I mean, but maybe, you know, I mean, it's just, but it's never been something that's been like, when I'm listening to something that I enjoy, I mean, it's like you look at my collection and things like, I mean,
Well, what about things you don't like? There's got to be a record you're like, I don't like that the vocals are too loud.
Maybe,
don't tell me you've never said that. I don't buy it.
I mean, maybe, you know, it's just, generally speaking, it's like I'm thinking in terms of stuff that I listen to, you know, that I enjoy, and I've just never, you know, I put in, you know, like I know, you know, I think about it now, like, you know, let's say, and again, I'm always going back to like production, you know, as opposed to so much vocals, but Release from Agony has terrible production. But, you know, growing up with that record, I never considered any of that. I just, you know, I heard it for what it was and was in love with it. You know, King Diamond, you know, Abigail and shit. You know, it's like, I mean, I used to listen to the shit out of that record. I even had my girlfriend in high school listening to that damn record, you know. But it's just like, I mean, it's just, you know, his voice is just on top of everything. But it, you know, I just always consumed it as a whole thing. You know, I never, you know, and then, you know, the more I got into my own, you know, musical endeavors and being a player and stuff, then, you know, you become more critical, and you start thinking, you know, breaking things into pieces. So, I mean, and being put on the spot with the question, you know, not having 5 more minutes to think about it, you know, maybe.
Welcome to Jim's pick night.
You know, no, it's all good. I mean, to Marty's point, I remember the first time when I got that Violence record, because I had gotten the EP that they had, I forget even how they were disseminating that, and and some guys that I was jamming with at the time, we were sitting in their, you know, what the hell, 15 years old or whatever it was, and these guys I was jamming with, they were in their early 20s, and we were all hanging out in the backyard drinking all the beer that they had bought for us, and we're listening to this, and I'm just like, holy, you know, what is happening right now? You know, like, I just completely dumbfounded, you know, gobsmacked by what this guy's doing vocally, you know, but it just never, it was just a sum of the whole to me, you know, and it never, but to Marty, and when Marty says it, it's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know, I mean, like, holy moly, you know, but it was just another, and it was never a consideration for me at the time, and then to come backwards on it and be like, oh, you know what? And so, you know, to sit here for a while and think about it, it's like, something else is liable to pop up. And, you know, like, what's his face? I forget who said it in the comments. They mentioned the first Forbidden. And it's the same kind of thing. It's like, you know, yeah, I guess when I think back on it, it's like, yeah, kind of, you know. But typically,
I'll give you a week to think on it some more. Well, for me, like, I actually, you know, Logan, you stole my thunder. It's definitely, yeah, King Diamond. I've always thought. I mean, yes, I know, right? It's King Diamond. You know, I mean, he gets to own the spaces in the mix. Like,
the band's not called The Rest of the Band,
right? But I mean, it's that way in Merciful Fate too. I feel like he dominates the mix in both bands. You know, and even though he's King Diamond, that's what it's all about. I love the riffs, man. You know what I mean? I'm a guitar player. You know what I mean? Riffs mean more to me, you know, the vocals. So it's always annoyed me that I've always kind of had to twist my ear a little bit and listen more to what the guitars were doing. Not enough to like not own the albums and not listen to it and not love them, but but it was like I just wish like a little more space was given to the awesome guitar work in both of those bands, you know. But and I gotta say, kudos to the chat. I've seen a lot of things that I agree with. Yes, I agree. Blessed Are the Sick, vocals too loud on that one. Yeah, you know, and you're right. You know, Logan, like on no, I love Slowly Rot. It doesn't, like, to TJ's point, it doesn't diminish my enjoyment of the album at all. But in comparison to the other records, Slowly Rot, yes, the vocals are too loud on that one. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But
and
but
it's
yeah,
just gibberish, which is also annoying. Like, try harder, write lyrics.
oh man, it's you know, it's funny. Okay, we say, oh, that bothers me, it's just yours, but then we also say, like, oh man, I don't care about lyrics, I just care, you know, I don't care, it sounds cool. You
That's
know what I mean?
true.
Like,
Good point. Good point. Touche. Touche.
Contradictory appointments on the same show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Opinion's not a point.
I just got to find something that bothers me about it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But
Something to
anyway, so
bitch
yeah,
about.
a good question. Thanks for everybody's answers. That was really cool. I'm still reading. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah. Yep. Oh, dude, Logan, another one, Legion. I agree there too, man.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I wanted to mention that. Legion has always had a tough time for me, which just because he doubles the vocals.
For me, man, Deicide, it's the debut for me. You know what I mean?
Once Upon the Cross.
Once Upon the Cross
debut
too
as well.
was awesome. Those are my two favorites. Yeah. But I had trouble when I bought Legion when it first came out. When I heard Satan spawn a cacodemon, I just wanted to take it back to the store. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this.
It's a little goofy.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, go ahead, Marty. What's next?
Musicality and composition of Journey into Mystery. Logan.
All right. I mean, I guess going into the Celtic Frost connection first. I mean, it's the guitar work, the guitar tone, the way that a lot of the riffs are played. You know, like most of the songs are modeled after like a slower, doomier style riff. Like, to me, that makes me think of Dethroned Emperor or Return to the Eve or something like that. And a lot of the songs, they just focus on the riff specifically, which I do like. I mean, I'm a doom, stoner doom, sludge fan, which, you know, we only got 2 riffs per song in that genre, so this is perfectly fine for the most part. But then at the same time, I do feel like there was some thrash influence that snuck into some of the riff writing on here. Like, we do get a little bit of technical flourishes and, you know, interesting note choices and stuff. I really enjoy Bitterness and Hatred and Sealed and Blood a lot. I will mention those songs a couple times throughout tonight, and they have like a more interesting, like fast-paced or even like slower level, like thrash riff in there, or at least to me that's what it sounds like, and it makes those tracks and the guitar work there stand out a bit more. Otherwise, we're kind of in this a bit dirgier sound for the duration of the album, thanks to the riff writing, which is, I think, perfectly fine. Like, I can exist and enjoy an album with like a repetitious way of writing your riffs and just the guitar work in general. For me, this album, it's the vocals, man. As Jim, I mean, we were already talking about it. The vocals are a sticking point for me. I don't feel like they work.
Either.
I have an issue with just this loud, over the top, you know,
Rambling.
thrash metal. Yeah. The worst parts about the album, and I said I will save it for later, but it's where he delivers this like talking, almost rapping style of vocal refrain, and it really takes me out of the music, and it sits so much in front of the rest of the instrumentation that it kind of dwarfs it in a way. And I think that's partially why the tracks that I end up enjoying the most feel the thrashiest and have the most thrash leaning, because that I think the vocalist kind of demands that of the music. You want something a bit more energetic and fast moving behind versus like an open, you know, guitar track and slow drum beat. So yeah, the vocals end up feeling a bit more distracting than what I would like them to be, you know, to be. And I mean, Black Edifice and Divine in Agony are my 2 main examples of that as far as tracks. Just feels off-putting and a bit disjointed when compared to the music. But I do enjoy like the rest of the instrumentation for the most part. Maybe a bit more variety at times with the riff writing, but I think with the right vocalist, I would not have cared as much, truthfully. Because the guitar solos are good. A lot of the riff change ups are good. Like even that Black Edifice song has this very cool like um riff in the bridge that really like takes me back into the song, after being somewhat annoyed from the vocals. My last point for the musicality is I do think there's some treble isms in here. I'm um mainly thinking of like tracks like The Tempter and Fall of Lucifer and stuff off of this, but just the way that some of the songs are structured makes me think that they're leaning into, you know, this album and this band in a way. I mean, this came out in what, 80, 84, and we got the Skull the year after, so this could have been
What
on
a
their
great
radar as
band, by the
well.
way. God, Trouble are
Yeah.
just fucking
Yeah.
awesome, man.
I
That
was
early shit. Oh, so
spinning
good.
I was spinning this week, and this is another Jim pick, by the way. Go check out that album club episode. But yeah, like some of the riffs do make me think of Trouble in a way, especially on, I think Sealed in Blood has this momentum that makes me think of tracks like Assassin or Bastards Will Pay off of this one. So, but in a sense, I do think the musicality feels a little simple as well when we're able to chalk this up as, oh, it's Celtic Frost worship with Slayer vocals, and then you're kind of, that's kind of the band in a way. Like I don't know if they're definitely unique and make it different, but it's just because there's no one else out there trying to do thrash doom in 1987 versus, I think, making something truly special and like its own kind of sound. But well, here's what everyone else has to say.
All right. TJ.
Well, for a first album, I think that their delivery is really pretty decent, but I struggle throughout this record to really get interested in much of anything that they're trying to accomplish. I found it to be, as Marty said, it's kind of a slog. There are moments that do shine through, and the thing,
Oh, yeah.
this album, because of what they're aping with their sound in this, for me now, keep in mind, this hits on a nostalgia quotient here that made it very listenable, because they are hitting that kind of Celtic Frost Hellhammer button and so well. I mean the sound,
Hellhammer in particular, the feel of the riffs feels Hellhammer to me.
and there, I mean, and how primitive some of it, because there are some stuff in this. There are some parts in some of these songs that are just like, I mean, like, wow, you could have thrown a harmonic or something in anything in that part, and just to break the monotony out of it. It was just, but again, you look at, they had 2 demos with all the same songs on, but it is a solid release as far as their performance goes. And the songs just have, they have a tendency to kind of slop around looking for somewhere to land. There's the timing issues all over the place with some of this stuff. And some of it comes across to be like, it could be really interesting, where his vocals, he's like, the guitar line that he's singing over is doing nothing. And then he's like, he's doing like, a tom, the line, what's that big spoken line in
Black Edifice, right?
I think that might be the one where Tom Araya does, and Hell Awaits. And I always forget the lyrics for that part. And it reminds me of that a lot. But it's like, it doesn't match. It doesn't, the feel, but there's, I don't know, something about it that's just kind of interesting. Like, maybe if they had worked on it a little bit more, or added something more to it, might have been, you know. But it was just like, but hearing it, it's just like, man, that's crazy. I don't know. You know, and they're playing on this. I mean, you know, the riffing and the song structures. It's I think they try to overcome how primitive a lot of what they're pushing forward with a lot of ambitious timing changes and stuff like that. You know, they jump around a lot. Not all of it's terrible. But again, the thing that, you know, like listening to this, and now I felt I didn't hate his voice. You know, I don't. I think
It's the wrong band. It just sounds like the wrong band to me.
You know,
for me.
You know, I just, I don't know. It just felt like it kind of worked to me. I don't know. I get what you're saying, Marty, but I don't know. I just didn't. I wasn't as put off by it. Like, I mean, it's just like it to me. It's like, you know, Show No Mercy meets Morbid Tales meets Apocalyptic Raids, maybe. You know, kind of like, I don't. It just. Here's Tom Araya, you know, hey, you know, doing his thing from that, and then,
you know, I don't want to interrupt you. Well, I'm going to interrupt you here. The whole Tom Araya thing, I did not consider that at all through this, but I now see what you guys are saying. But Tom Araya has way more charisma in the way he presents himself. This guy is monotone.
Yeah,
he's just kind of, I'm just talking real brutal like, you know, it's like
nails that. He nails. I think he nails the tone and timbre of Tom's voice more than he does the delivery. You know, you're 100% right where he's just kind of his utterances and what it's just kind of, he's just blurting it out there and just very mid-level, you know, but he still, I think he sounds like it. You know, he just kind of hit that mark. And the thing about this overall, I mean, it's like, you know, the songs are what they are. You know, I didn't love all of it. I didn't hate all of it. And these guys being so, you know, it's their first record, and I feel like they delivered pretty good stuff for being the first go around. And the thing of it kind of it just sounds like what they're trying to be, you know, and that in and of itself worked for me a lot. It made me not completely, you know, shut down with this, because initially it was like, at first I'm just kind of like, oh man, fuck, I don't know, you know, but then I'd listen to it some more. I'm like, God, you know, I'm feeling that Celtic Frost vibe. I'm feeling that, you know, I've always loved that band. Always, you know, I mean, some of my earliest debauchery was instigated listening to, you know, Emperor's Return, and you know, just in my car, just blasting the living shit out of that, you know, 12-inch speakers and cardboard boxes in the back of my old Oldsmobile, you know, just, and so it just these guys are living in that space with this record, and so you know, it's definitely it's got problems, but you know, I'm so much more willing to be kind of forgiving, because they do deliver a strong performance on here, regardless of the flaws of some of the songwriting and stuff. It's just, you know, if they had time to work on this and maybe mature what they were trying to do, and you know, I turned on some of their later stuff, and I don't even, you know, whatever, I don't even know what the hell, you know, it's just kind of more the same. They didn't really grow any of this, so maybe it could have been better. Maybe they could have gone farther with it, but who knows?
All right, Jim.
So, yeah, you know, I would say, you know, you guys are not wrong. I mean, you know, we're talking about Musicality composition here, like they're wearing their influences on their sleeve. You know, I call this Celtic Frost worship. I really do think that's what it is, with, you know, Hell Awaits era, Araya or Araya vocals, depending on how you pronounce it. But at the same time, it's like, I guess for me, there's two reasons that I'm forgiving of it, and I get what you're saying completely, TJ. And actually, my reasons are related to yours. It's because I do also have, like, it's for me, it is total nostalgia bait, right? You know, like, you know, I absolutely love early Frost. I'll be listening to it till the day I die, and listened to it for 40 years now. So that's to kind of touch on that nerve for me, maybe not 40, maybe 37, but whatever. 38, whatever. But obviously that stuff means a lot to me. And what I like about what they're doing is, from that aspect is it's Frost. Also, that era of Slayer is my favorite as well. So they're kind of taking that, they're putting it into a blender and making it happen. But I kind of defer back to what I was saying earlier, and the fact that they kind of focus more often. Yeah, there's more up tempo stuff in here, or like there's moments with up tempo, but generally there's that dreary aspect to what their sound is all about and what their songs are all about. And I think their best moments for me are when they're playing slower. Not so much when they're fast. Like I like it when they're sounding like dreary and all that kind of stuff. It has, I think, the desired effect that they were going for in terms of taking me to like a dank, dark place. It works for me musically. That they're doing that. So from a musicality composition perspective, yes, from a purely technical aspect, that is easy to achieve, right? Tom himself was not a fantastic guitar player. I'm not, but that's always one of the reasons I love Tom. Was like, hey, you could be a simple guitar player, still be awesome, right? You could still come up with really awesome stuff. So I like it when someone can be very primitive, but can still create like a zone for you to inhabit as a listener. And I do feel that there is like a very distinct atmosphere that they create that sticks with you the length of the record. It's a thematic, like sonic sound that they don't ever deviate from. To me, it's there beginning to end. The only exception I would say would be, the last track is definitely more thrashier. Like it's super thrashy to me at the end.
Oh
yeah. But for the most part, this album it maintains that sort of thick fog of like frosty riffs and and mostly horror music, shouty vocals. Though I definitely will call out the Elder Race. The lyrics on that one are more like Conan of Samaria. I love that line, burst through the throne room, someone's in his seat. I love that. I'm like, there it is. That's a line that I love. I can just see that. I can see old, Schwarzenegger coming in with a big long sword and ready to hack somebody up. You know what I mean? Like, who do you think you are? Get out of there. So yeah, there are moments where, like the approach, the lyrics and the vocals like do work for me, and that's one of them. But so yeah, for me, just taken solely at technicality, maybe not so impressive, but the fact that they can maintain that atmosphere and they hold fast to it and it sticks throughout the record, that's a success to me. And also, hey man, I got to give them kudos. Nobody else was doing Frost Worship in '87 on a signed record. There were definitely bands doing it in tape trading circles and stuff like that. But in '87, Frost Worship, Thrash Doom. I mean, how many even bands are on Metal Archives that are Thrash Doom? I mean, I think even though their influences are very obvious, what they chose to do, that choice, that direction itself, that was original. I'll give them that.
Yeah, the songwriting composition thing. There are times on this record where it seems like the rhythm section and the guitars are at odds with each other. They're not on the same page at times. The drummer, I think it was, which one was it? Up top here. It was Black Edifice. The drummer in particular was really swimming around to find a groove. He eventually gets there. The guitars and the drums link up, but the sloppiness continues. Like it was meant to be that way, and it just sounds so off to me. Vocals bother me on this record. He seems like he needs to be in a thrash band, but even then, his performance is kind of unremarkable. He's very monotone. Like I said, he does a talk shouting type of thing, and there are times where he's like out of time with his performance, which is odd because he's playing guitar as well. So you think, as a guitar player that used to sing and play at the same time, I have a propensity to follow the riff, and that's just kind of what you do. And the really good ones, like TJ is a prime example. He can not always follow the riff, which is nice, but at least follow the riff. And if you're in time with the drums, you should be in time with your music. Sometimes he's just kind of like blurting shit out. And I think it was Black Edifice, that line at the end, "It takes two to tango." This like comes out of the middle of nowhere. I'm like,
I love that, dude.
this is like, oh,
I was like,
it takes
I was like,
That's the song.
wait a minute. Did he just say it takes two to tango?
it's like,
I rewound it back.
He's
I'm
wandering
like,
all
"Yep,
over.
that's what he said."
There's a spot or two in there where they're just opening up a power chord, and then he's just like, it's just like, and it's just like, dude, I don't know where you're going, but you're not gonna find your way. I mean, like, wow,
He stumbles.
there's something about it that I can't, like, I want to like it more than it, I like this. There's something here that could be really cool, and it's just so kind of just off, just enough to make me want to wince a little. But it's just like it's kind of like he's trying something, and it's not completely horrible, for me. I just like, so that again, that's this kind of mixed bag of feels on this.
but yeah, and the thrash, I'm not hearing a lot of. Dream Death is the fastest song, the closing track on here. They went out with a bang. In fact, I think the last 3 songs on the record is the best. They had a good run. But largely that Hellhammer type of vibe in the guitar is very cool, but what I think points them towards thrash on occasion is they get a little riff salady at times. There's like just these weird random parts that are kind of strewn together. And then with the time changing, it's like they do these time changes that make no sense. It's like the riffs could have all been played the same, but they like sped up this thing and then slow it down, and for no reason, but they don't even do it for very long. It's like comes and goes. And that's when I say this album was a slog for me. It's because it was hard to focus on it, because a lot of the songs have kind of a samey feel to it because of the nature of the riff writing, which I really like the guitar tone. Like I said in the intro, it feels like there's flakes of rust coming off this guitar tone, which is very cool. And there's some really good riffs here too, but it's just a lot. And the way they mess around with the meter for no real reason, and when elements aren't linking up, it feels very challenging to get through. And it isn't because it's overly technical. It isn't because it's just, there's a lot of things that are starting to stack up for me as a listener, that I'm not 100% behind your vocalist. I'm not 100% behind your drummer. It isn't, well, he is struggling with finding his place in some of these songs. The fact that the drums sound like he's banging on a wet pizza box for the snare. It sounds like the Hotter Than Hell drum sound from Kiss. That really wet, sloppy, like the drums were recorded in the house next door with the mics in the other house. It's kind of that vibe. And I don't know. There's like all these things that stack up. It's really kind of hard for me to focus on finding the good in the songs, even though there are good. Like I said, the last 3 tracks on the record, which we will get there, I thought that was they ended strong. But let's talk about the production. I already kind of started digging into it a bit. Logan.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of with TJ here, where it's like there's definitely something here I could like a lot of. For me, it was not necessarily a slog all the way through. There was just certain elements that were kind of just obtrusive as I was going through it and wouldn't leave me alone. And I do think one of them is the production. Unfortunately, like the vocals part of the vocal part of the production, of course, being the main one. The fact that he is so upfront in that mix, and you can't escape him, especially on tracks like Black Edifice to me, which that absolutely did not click. Unfortunately, that I guess it's the chorus part where he's like singing all this stuff in rhyme and like almost rapping. It's a weird.
That's another thing I
just-
forgot to mention. The shit is
God.
his voice is such a way that it really highlights the rhymes. It's like, oh, it's like bad
You're like-
rhymes. Ugh. It's
And
kind of
then
like a
even-
latter day DRI album where Spike was, not Spike, Kirk Brett was doing all those really obvious rhymes. Anyway, go ahead.
And it's because underneath him, it's just there's just an open or very simple riff. So he's just talking over almost nothing. And then Divine and Agony, the next track, almost opens up in a similar way where it's just like a drum, like quick, one note on the guitar kind of start, but he's spitting all these words at you.
Divine and Agony,
and you're like,
it's word salad at the beginning.
Yeah, you're like,
that's,
slow
that's the
down.
one that the word salad bugs me on, and it gets better after the intro, but at the beginning it's like, whoa, what are you chill,
Yeah.
bro?
I agree, and I to tie this back to the production, I think that just makes it so much more obvious to me. Like if the rest of the instrumentation had more room and space, and it was like an equal billing with the vocals or over the vocals, it would be fine. I mean, like, listen, Tom G. Warrior is no amazing vocalist or singer, but he's placed perfectly for where Celtic Frost need him, and here the vocals are just billed, I think, too high with the caliber of quality that they're working with. I do agree with the drum production note that you said, Marty. I find the drum production here to be very, very
Bad.
weak, and that's the other issue.
Yeah.
Like, I think we need some like pounding drums, and to me, the cymbals, the crash, all the hi-hats, and then the toms especially just feel very weak. Like there's some potentially interesting drum fills here, but yeah, the hitting pizza boxes sound definitely came to my mind a couple times, and I do think the snare is somewhat of an issue as well. Another album, another Jim pick, man, Jim, you just you have a type here. Slaughter, to me, this is like similar worship in the Celtic Frost vein for certain ways, but I think the production is more appropriately catered to what this needs, and the drums are a bit more upfront and forceful, and because they do a lot of slow dirgy riffs in this album as well, but they hit a lot.
I was getting you doing some prime re-sleeve in there. Sorry.
What's the golden rule?
Never re-sleeve on screen.
Do it when you can. But no, I do like the guitar tone, and I think the guitar performance overall is well captured. So production-wise, that is not an issue, and I do think there's a cool 80s production here, which sounds dirgy, dark, and kind of, live in a sense, with especially the guitar tone. So I didn't want to just fully, talk smack, because I do like a lot of elements that are here on this album. It's just the ones that I don't are easy to think of.
All right, TJ.
Yeah, the production is such a mixed bag of things. I literally right here, drums sound like boxes. I literally wrote that.
Wet pizza boxes.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. It's like when everything comes together, it all kind of seems to gel, and it gives off this just vibe and air of the time it was made, and again, it just kind of starts ticking that little box, of there's a charm to the sound of this. I mean, and it's like, you pick it apart, and it's like, yeah, the guitar tone on this is killer, and they just, they did their homework in the woodshed, in the bedroom. They figured out the shit that Tom was using. They got as close as they could, and the sound, they're pulling it off. I'm surprised, honestly, how well this is mixed, considering everything. Everything does kind of, it's all in there, but like I like the presence of his vocals, but they are too loud. But when it all puts together, it's just isn't. I don't know. It's not as off-putting, I guess. I don't know. Because there's when he breaks it up and he's doing all these weird scat pieces, whatever spoken word, lyrical riffing, But there's a vibe and a feel to this that lives in the place where they created it, and it makes it kind of listenable, It's I don't know, it's hard to kind of pin it all down. There's that one song that comes in when he's doing these poorly executed triplets or whatever on the kicks, and it's kind of bad, and he's kind of flopping all over the place. But then the song kicks in, and that tone and that feel, that Frost feel, that Hellhammer feel, and it's like, oh, it works for that. So I really had kind of pinning this down with production. It's like, I don't hate it because it just seems to work for what they're doing. But there's all kinds of, there's warts all over it. There's just so many things. And for what are we talking, 39 years or whatever it is, for this, it's like, I'm really kind of surprised it sounds as well as it does, considering some of the older records we've listened to that, the guitar tones were just abysmal, and, everything was just mixed so poorly. And, even the performances push the songs along. This kind of has a heft and a beef to it that some of these older ones didn't have, So I'd be curious to know who recorded this for them. I tried finding, I couldn't seem to find anything about it, but yeah.
Okay, I'll try to find that information. Logan, did you go already? Jim.
Yeah, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse here. I mean, we all know from the start of the show, like the production is the issue with the record. The vocals are way too loud. Everything else is too low. But I do really love the guitar tone. I think it's awesome. It's definitely Frost-like, but with his own like Pittsburg character kind of thrown in for good measure. It has a tweak of it that I think is their own, which is cool. And I do like that, vocals aside, that you can hear the bass, the drums are there. And something interesting I didn't know, I was just kind of looking around here while we were talking. This guy did live drums with Cathedral. He played with Pentagram. And to Ben's mention as well, he's one of the members that ended up in From Dream Death and Independence. So hey, there's a little bit of a pedigree there. And if you do like what you hear, you should probably check those out. I know I'm going to after this show. So it's pretty cool. Goodness there. But yeah, it's but for me, like, I don't really hate the drums as much as everybody else does. Like, they do sound, I guess, to Marty's point, that kind of wet sound a little bit, but I've never really hated that kind of a drum sound. Master of Puppets, the drums sound wet on. You know what I mean? And that's not a drum sound that I dislike, So for me, I'm okay with it. But definitely, and I'll end on a positive note here. For me, guitar tone, awesome. They nailed that in the productions.
All right. Sorry, typing. Yeah, the drums are the problem. Drums, like I said, wet pizza boxes. Vocals are too loud in the mix, and highlight his inconsistencies. The guitars, I think, are great. I think it's very Hellhammer-ish, and there's even, I couldn't shake this touch of crust, or not crust, but yeah, a little bit
I think crust is right.
A little bit of crust. I was thinking more along the lines of like I Hate God level of what the hell you call sludge. Sludge is what I was going for here. There's a sludginess to that guitar tone, but so is Hellhammer's guitar tone. Very sludgy and crusty in the way it comes across. But yeah, the guitars are the standout here. it would have been a little more lively of a production if there was some room ambience in the drums. That's all I'm going to say there. Favorite, least favorite songs. Logan.
All right. As far as the album, like the flow of the album goes, I mean, I do think there is consistently good songs throughout. So I truthfully never had an issue making it through the whole album, in one spin. It never truly wore on. Like I enjoy the opening track. Like the lyrics are a bit goofy, but the coming back as a vampire. But I just like the stops, like start going from a thrash intensity to like the vocal delivery, which is a bit slower, but still he sounds like he's a thrash vocalist. But I think Back from the Dead is a very good opening, lead off track and taste of what you're going to get throughout the album. Bitterness and Hatred is another one for me. I think it demonstrates the wide variety of pacing that can occur on this album, and the main riff that they use is awesome. I absolutely enjoy the little like technical like flourishes and the little stuff that they add to the guitar in that riff that makes it more interesting than the only simple dirgy doom riff that they sometimes do. I also like the vocal performance on here. I think this is my favorite vocal performance by the singer on Bitterness and Hatred. It just the delivery fits the intensity of the song, and to me that was often the missing ingredient. My favorite track, Sealed in Blood. It's slow and doomy, but the main riff is so interesting and cool, and it feels thrashy, but it still has that doom pace to it. Like the whole pace of the song is quite slow for the most part, but I think it's the perfect merging of Frost and the Slayerisms that they kind of demonstrate. Like this is, to me, their sound fully synthesized and is something unique and cool, and that I would want to listen to again and again. But this is not quite representative of the whole album, for me, unfortunately. Really, the only track that I don't like is Black Edifice. I already kind of talked about it. Just the vocal delivery does not work for me at all, and it just pulls me out of the experience. And the two to tango part, I not been able to wrap my head around either. So I do wish, my biggest regret is that I could not get into the Elder Race more. Jim, it sounds like that's one of your favorite songs, and I really like the vocals. Or not the vocals, the lyrics. I like the lyrics. I like the doom approach, but it just doesn't click with me. It's like I kind of find it drifting past me without paying much attention, unfortunately. So I do think there are tracks on here that could click with me more if I maybe was in a different headspace spinning this, and that would be the main one.
TJ.
It was kind of hard. I mean, I like the opening track. It's so blatantly Celtic Frost, a little doomy, a little bit kind of bland, but I thought it was a cool, I liked it. The Elder Race, I think it's one of the most consistent tracks on the record. I like the groove that it's got in it. And then Dream Death is, kind of thrashier, the goofy ass lyrics, and it's got the, obligatory doom section kind of in the middle there, and then more thrash bits. And then overall, it was just kind of like song by song, riff by riff. There were moments that would stand out. And Sealed in Blood, they've got this kind of twin guitar thing they tried to do with this harmonic riff in between there that was kind of neat. Could have built on a little bit more. So I mean it just kind of all falling all over the place as far as that goes. There's nothing on here that I hated. I just like I say, certain parts, certain songs would really jump out and be like, oh, that's really cool, and then other things were just like, oh my god, that was just the most boring thing ever. And overall it's those Back from the Dead, Elder Race, Dream Death, kind of my big picks for the record.
Jim.
So for me, yeah, Elder Race is definitely my favorite song on this. I really like that. I like the whole image of a king going in there about to tear some shit up because somebody's on his throne. Like, like, and I think the music perfectly embodies that sort of, warrior barbarian moment with a sword. Like it's just pure metal fantasy and the frosty hellhammer riffs really work for me. It's to me it's lyrically and musically it's Death Roamed Impera Part 2. It's what should have happened after To Make Ethereum. Like I really like that. I know Black Edifice is polarizing for everybody, but man, I actually love that song. It's one of my favorites. I like the all right, that's his Tom Warrior isn't the it's the all right, and the crazy takes two to tango. Like it's so bizarre and weird. Like I just love it every time it comes on. I'm like, yeah, dude, two to tango. Lots of great riffs in it. Has a cool kind of frosty type riff, and there's like a killer thrash riff about 2 minutes in. It's a real headbanger. Just a great song there. And for me, I like Hear My Screams. I like that main riff. It's kind of a palm muted thing, a little bit of sort of like a Children of the Grave, Four Horsemen type riff, like that, like that. And it's really cool, more up tempo for them, which is a little bit surprising. That's kind of why I like it. And it gets a little more frosty on the chorus, but it's a good sort of dynamic there. Like the sort of thrash meets frost / doom thing kind of works for me really well on Hear My Screams. All those are great. Back from the Dead, great music. Some of the lyrics I question the most, though I do think it's hilarious, that one part where he goes, "I've always been a loser and settled for second best." Like, that just cracks me up, man, every time, dude. Like I'm like that was another one of those moments where I was like, did he just say I've always been a loser? but I like the dude just he'll just, I guess he'll just say anything, right? But pretty cool. For me, I love the section in Dream Death where it slows down, gets super doomy. I love all the riff transition there and everything like that. But generally speaking, like it's so thrashy. Like it's a great closer for the album because it's fast and because it's aggressive. But I almost feel like it sounds like a different band to me. Like that song for me sounds like, okay, first of all, it's the name of the band, Dream Death, right? So to me, what it sounds like, it has to be like maybe like their first song they wrote together or something, because it's really, really fast. It's got that doomy section, but none of the other songs are really like it. So to me, I think they probably they wrote that early on in their journey. It was a real stage pounder live when they performed it. It's got their name in it, and they decided to keep it, and it's a great closer. But in comparison with the rest of the album, I think it doesn't fit so well. It's not a bad song, but I just feel like it almost feels like a little jarring because it's so thrashy to me, where the other ones are more like a great sort of balance between the thrash and the doom. But I don't know, not a bad song, but that's just one thing I kind of wanted to call out there. That was my vibe for it. I'm like, whoa, I love thrash. This is great, but does this really fit with that sort of like dismal, foggy undertone that kind of permeates the rest of the record? But again, they do have that section in it though. So is that enough? I'll let you decide, listeners. But yeah, for me, overall, no bad tracks. Obviously, this is my pick. I like the whole record, but the songs that I like the most are definitely Elder Race and Black Edifice and Hear My Screams.
All right. Well, for me, I think the worst song on the album is Divine Agony. This is the one where Brian, the singer, he's like ramrodding this line of vocals out of time with the riffs, which, again, I mentioned, if you're the guitar player and you're playing the riff, you should be able to lock up your vocal line with the riff. And this is the song that suffers the most from the random tempos and kind of riff salad type of thing. It feels kind of feverish the way it's put together. Maybe that was the point. I don't know. But as a listener, it's not inviting. You know what I mean? The rhythm section and the guitars on this song feel like they're most at odds with each other. The other song that I liked the least was Black Edifice. This is the one where the drummer's swimming around trying to find the groove. And, the louder vocals really compounds the things that bother me about it. He sounds like the wrong singer for this band. And then his super rhymey lyrics, too. Then the Take
But do
Two
you
to
even tango, bro?
Yeah, I know. I don't. It takes two to tango, bro. Yeah. But you get to hear my screams. This is where things really start to shape up a bit. It's a good headbanging track. There's a good solid double bass groove here and the palm muted crunching riffs. They keep it together in the tempo department and riff wise as well. And the track doesn't feel thrown together. It feels pretty cohesive. Sealed in Blood is another one I like a lot on here. There's a very roomy intro that flows into another roomy. It's supposed to be doomy. Another doomy intro. It flows into another crunchy riff. There's a good movement here. And you can tell when they broke up and started the band Penance, they had they wanted to be more doom oriented. This song though, started getting more doom elements. Brian's vocals feel really hung out to dry in this style. He doesn't, the slower meters, he just doesn't really know what to do with himself because he's really set up to be a thrash vocalist. And where it really all comes together and works in cohesion is on Dream Death. It's the fastest song, most aggressive song on the album. And Brian's voice actually feels like it belongs here. And he's still he's kind of a lackluster singer, but it works. It works in this context. Let's see what other notes I have here. I like the energy in the chorus on this one where they move those power chord progressions higher up the neck. It's a good way to build tension and it really works well on here. And I'm like, wow, where was this, 5 songs ago? But, yeah, I do want to say though, I do remember now that I'm thinking back on the whole thing, New Renaissance Records was one of the reasons why I bought this record, but the album cover, it's kind of the old tale of the bait and switch. I look at this album cover, I'm thinking like Fate's Warning, I'm thinking Warlord, I'm thinking something mystical kind of thing. And I just remember kind of being taken aback when I heard this for the first time. I'm just like, this is not at all what I expected it to be, but it's still a unique cover. I should have mentioned this early on. I don't know. I was sitting here looking at the cover while you guys were talking, but yeah, let's get into our judgment, final thoughts. TJ.
Yeah, I was just perusing my my fun facts about Pittsburgh. Did you know that the Big Mac was actually invented in Pittsburgh in 1960 by a franchisee there? Yeah, fun fact. Anyway, I got to get my notes to open them. So honestly,
Is that the only fact you had? Was the one?
There's more. I wasn't going to regale you.
Can't wait to visit Pittsburgh with.
Yeah. When
give
you're
us
there,
one more, TJ. Give us one more. One more.
Did you know that many of the homes built in Pittsburgh all have toilets in the basement? No bathroom, just a toilet in a corner with no walls or curtains around it. The mystery Pittsburgh toilets. And the reason for that is, if you must know, is because the people that worked in steel, when they would come home, they would go into the basement and they would do their potty business in their basement with their Pittsburgh toilet and not track all that filth through mom's clean house. So there's that.
That's not true.
It is 100% true. Look it up. You want me?
If it's on the internet, it must be true. You're right.
Why do I have to argue with you about this?
I don't know. It seems like horse shit to me, but whatever.
Listen, Abraham Lincoln said if it's on the internet, it's true.
He did.
I mean, probably said it.
Yeah.
And more than likely said, or was it George Washington or George Bush? I'm not sure. But my final thoughts on this, I mean, I realize that going over the internet and looking at a lot of this stuff, this album has become a classic for a lot of people. I don't, for me, this
I'm
is
surprised to see the love tonight.
Yeah,
I've always had a weird vibe with this album.
I never, and I give this one to Jim. You got me on this because I had never heard of this, and if I had, it is lost in the recesses of the gray caverns, long dead and huffed away in gas fumes. I don't remember this band from ever appearing anywhere in my radar ever, and if I had found this back in 87, 88, I might have been like, oh my God, yeah, I remember this and da da da. But
You should have been hanging out with me back then. I would have shown you the way of all these albums.
You didn't. You were boring.
Hey, I wasn't huffing gas fumes and doing all sorts of other debaucherous things.
And chasing girls around and getting stuck in the woods in your Trans Am, and I was living the life of Riley, brother. But yeah, like I said, this really hits on a lot of nostalgia stuff for me, and it just kind of the earliness of metal at the time, and bands trying to find their footing, and these guys, these guys really are pushing their influences where a lot of other bands were kind of dancing around or being, very authentic at the time. Doing, and these guys were just like, oh, we're really into this, and so we're going to try to do something that is like all that. And I don't hate this. I probably wouldn't, if I found this, I don't, maybe it was in a used bin in a CD, I might pick it up. But overall, number rating is 7.
Logan.
Yeah, so is this a successful merger of thrash and doom, like the tag that I was told, years ago? I don't really think so. Like, to me, you can still separate out the influences almost too purely when they're trying to play like thrash, or when they're doing doom, or when the Celtic Frost is the whole sound, and it just feels like all the influences are on the sleeve right there for you to see. But I will say this is a successful, unique cult 1980s metal album, and I think it does deserve listening and does deserve to be heard, and I'm glad I had the chance to hear it this week, because I have not heard an album quite like this before, and maybe that's part of why I had issues with it. Maybe with time I will grow to enjoy it more, but for now, the influences are just right there, and I can't get into the vocal style like I would like. Some of the songs do drag on a bit, and yeah, overall though, I think it is still an enjoyable album, and one that the impression will stick with me for sure. So I'm actually right with TJ with it being a 7, where I feel like I could potentially like it more. I don't think I would ever enjoy this less than currently, but there's potential. So 7.
All right, Jim.
So, hey, I'm actually glad you guys gave it a 7. I wasn't sure how I was going to go. This is a band that I think that it largely it probably has a lot to do with like how much you enjoy their influences, because they wear them so obviously. There's tons of Frost love on here, definitely Array on the vocals, and the production makes it challenging too, with the music not being nearly as loud as it should be and the vocals being too loud. But despite all that stuff, I really like it. I'm a huge Frost fan, and I always kind of felt like, for me, I loved the fact that Fenris and Culto were like so into Celtic Frost that they did some Frost worship stuff over the Dark Throne years. But I also felt like it wasn't very successful. It just Frost to me is like dark and warm and dank, and when that putting that Frost bit in context, like it just never had the power. Like my favorite Dark Throne was when they were just fast and dissonant and dark sounding, or when they were just like evilly melodic, and with crappy production like on Transylvania Hunger. Like that's my favorite album by them, and there's no Frost on that record anywhere to be seen.
No. Yep.
On the other hand, I think these guys, their frost worship is excellent. I think that they get at the core of what Hellhammer was, what Megatherion was, and Morbid Tales. I hear all three. I hear that first band, Hellhammer, and I hear those first two releases from the Frost on this. And, and I also feel that I get the sense, a very real sense that it's filtered through that Pittsburg steel town aesthetic. Like I all of that sort of makes sense to me when I listen to this record. It's dark smokestacks polluting the sky. It's dark and it's evil. So I feel that this style of Frost worship for me is more successful, and makes more sense to me. So while it isn't perfect, by any stretch, I got a stack of albums behind me that aren't perfect that I love,
Sure.
and this is just yet another one. So
Yeah.
glad to give a spin today, and was glad to hear everybody's thoughts on it.
Yeah, again, I'm shocked the level of love and respect this thing has been getting in the channel. And like I said, this is one of those records I bought back in the day that I just couldn't connect with. And when Jim pulled it, I'm like, okay, here we go. Cool. I haven't listened to that thing in decades, and it's going to be fun. And it was very interesting to unearth it and spin it again. And it was good also to process with, a little bit more years behind me what bothered me about it. And I think I got it nailed down pretty well. And listening to this thing on Apple Music, the streaming services, they populate, if you like this artist, check this out. It just kind of like flows, and it would always go to a Celtic Frost song after this was done playing. And right there, here's their influence coming through from the masters themselves. And I'm listening to it and like, okay, why does it work so well for Celtic Frost? Timing, songwriting, Tom's voice, though not perfect, it had a lot of character and charisma. So I think Dream Death, if Celtic Frost and Hellhammer were a huge influence, which it does sound like it was. I think it was kind of cool. Their singer, he's a guitar player as well, so he's also coming up with riffs. He just wasn't the right fit. I think if it was a better singer, this album would have gotten a little bit more traction with me, because I really struggled to get past his voice. It just, even if he was in a kick-ass thrash metal band, I would say he would be the weakest part of that band, just for his monotone delivery, talk shouting. But, I'll give this a 5.5. I don't think it's terrible. I think there are some moments on here that are pretty damn good, the last 3 songs in particular. But yeah, this is one of those albums that it's a part of history, and I'm glad I got it when I got it, and I might not ever listen to it again. It's just one of those, there's just not a return payoff here. I think I've, at this point, spun this record enough to realize it isn't for me. But great pick, Jim. When you pulled it out, I was shocked. I'm like, wow, cool. I always felt like I'd forgotten about that band. I totally forgot about them. So it was cool that they got a little bit of lip service tonight. I haven't seen anything about them on the internet, so awesome. And whose pick is it for next week? Is it Logan? TJ? Is it yours again?
As a matter of fact,
Give it to TJ. No, Marty, I believe it's yours, my friend.
Oh no.
Right? Am I not wrong in this?
I don't.
Because I picked Eternal Champion, and then TJ stole
Jumped
someone
the
else's
line.
pick, Jim's pick, who is tonight. So that just leaves Marty.
So it's
I
my turn?
believe.
Yeah, that's Marty.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been on the list for a while. Next week, we are going to talk about Strapping Young Lad's second album, City.
Nice.
Yep.
Make it easy.
Yeah. Because it's been on the list. And I just saw it sitting here, and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to listen to that record for a week. So there it is. City, Strapping Young Lad. Is there anything you guys have coming up you want to talk about? Logan, you've got something happening this Sunday.
I do. Sunday night, I'm joining Shredbeard, Warhammer 666, Lee, and Misanthropy on the mandatory Metal and Mayhem Sunday. So
Yep.
tune into that. I believe it is, I want to say 8 Eastern.
8 Eastern.
Should be good. I'm saving a beer or two for that and whatever else they want to talk about. But then hopefully there's some other stuff going on as well that I'll be announcing. Trying to get a little busier outside of just the album club.
Right on. And actually, we're going to be, I don't know if it's going to be this weekend, hopefully, but we're going to be doing, myself, Alan, and Logan, we're going to be talking about 4 albums that the channel probably should have covered, but we don't get promos for. And they're bigger albums. We're going to be talking about the new Mayhem, the new Worm, Love Bites, and what's the other one? New Creator.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully in an hour and a half, we'll rattle off our thoughts on those 4 releases. Something a little more current event-ish, bigger bands that didn't get standalone reviews. But Jim, anything going on with you?
No, I just need to do something about my voice, but yeah.
Oh no. TJ, what's going on in Glorious Deadland?
We got sidelined on finishing up primary vocal takes. Hopefully tail end of next week. I was shooting for this weekend, but our engineer's a busy man. And then the beginning of next week, I'm going to be in Detroit seeing a bigwig doctor at Henry Ford because your host here is falling to pieces.
Penis reduction surgery.
yeah, it's just too much. No, I've got to see if I have. I'm probably going to be having a major surgery at some point. My thyroid, and so I will probably. I'm looking at this. I should be here because I think we're coming back Wednesday morning, so I should be able to drag my carcass in here Wednesday night for. I'll make sure and be here for that. I was half thinking I was going to have to do it from the bathroom in the hotel down there or in my car or something.
Pittsburg shitter.
Yeah, Pittsburg shitter. Just look it up. Pittsburg toilet. Just do it. Google it. You won't regret it. I promise. But yeah. So yeah, that's my just dealing with that. But yeah, so hopefully we'll get principal vocal tracking done. We got 3 songs to do, which is 12 takes for my primary vocal takes, and then we come back.
Vocals.
We come back and do backup vocals and leads, overdubs, harmonies, which is probably equates to another 3 days,
3 months.
Well, depending on who knows what. Hopefully it won't be that long, but it should be about 3 days worth of work as far as that stuff goes. And then off to the mixer. So coming up soon, and then hopefully we'll be hearing back from our cover art, Mr. Riddick, once the new artwork's finished up. Probably going to announce another contest on the show for banners. So brace yourselves. Get ready to guess the secret word. Dummies. So,
is it dummies?
I got to get a buzzer. But yeah. But yeah, once the new artwork's done, I'm going to get 4 new banners made. So they'll have the new album artwork for the 3rd record, Maggot Age. And then I'm going to do banners, new ones for the other ones as well. So we'll have all those to give away at some point. So look forward to that, kids.
Right on. Stuff happening, rumblings. Friday. On Heavy Metallurgy, Jimmy from Future Ruins is joining us again, and we're going to be talking about hybrid bands, bands that bring in different styles or instruments or something to do something different, interesting with their sound. So should be a fun conversation. Jimmy's always fantastic, and that's it, everybody. This crew, you'll see them next Wednesday. See me Friday. Everyone have a great one. Cheers.